Well, hi.
How are you?
Do I detect an Ogden accent?
Yeah, yes, you do.
He's been all over the world. He would
Yeah,
know.
I feel like that's an Ogden accent.
It is, in fact. I born and raised in Ogden. Now, I've lived in other parts of the world, but
you've maintained the hometown.
You can't take the Ogden out of the boy.
Your enunciation is also incredibly good.
Phil, people know you, Phil Keoghan, they know you as the host of
The Amazing Race.
The Amazing Race.
Oh, by the way, my friend Jackie wants to try out.
Where is Jackie?
So should I have her come down here and
tell her to come down.
We'll
have her run a few laps around the building or something.
She was a professional soccer player, so.
Oh, okay.
This is an amazingly successful show. I mean, it is astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's anybody who gets a gig that lasts for 17 years is doing all right.
Season 29 is coming up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, season 29, and hopefully we'll keep rolling a few more out. Yeah. I mean, but it has been quite extraordinary. I apologize, by the way, for my gravelly voice. I was doing major amount of press last week and just talked my voice out.
We're minor press, apparently.
That's fine.
You did major press last week. We're minor press.
No, I went from the major press to supernova press when I walked in here.
So now I detect an accent in your voice, Phil.
Yes, young man. I'm originally from New Zealand.
New Zealand. That's kind of what I thought.
New Zealand, and then left when I was 3. Went to Canada, so I spoke with a Canadian accent there for a while.
Hey.
Yeah, that's right, Canadian. And then I spoke with a West Indian accent for about 8 years. And then I moved from there down to Australia.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Spoke with Australian accent.
Crikey.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I moved to the United States, and then I got, I don't know what kind of, maybe it's like a I am a Mary Quimby kind of an accent.
Why don't you try the Ogden accent?
I need to hear your accent a little bit longer before I get into the Ogden.
Now, Phil, we want to talk about this project, this movie you did.
Yes.
But just one other quick question. I'm just curious about your background. How did you? What did you?
Were you born a host?
Were you? Yeah.
Yes. I came out with a microphone in my hand and just started hosting.
A theater guy?
Yeah, they don't teach that in school.
No.
Were you a theater guy or what? How did you? Or a venturer? Or?
So my mom is a music teacher. My dad is a plant scientist. Traveled all around the world from a very early age. I started performing with the violin, just with doing because my mom. Had a lot of concerts with her students and that sort of thing. So I would perform, and I loved being on a stage. And then I got into theater. And then I really, really wanted to work in television. I thought, what a great opportunity to tell stories in front of a camera. So I actually went straight from school, high school, before I went to college, to work for a TV station and to become I wanted to be a camera operator. I thought it would be great to because I loved photography, or I still do love photography. And one day when I was in the middle of my apprenticeship doing my cinematography, someone said, can somebody pretend to be a presenter or a host? And that happened to be me. And the microphones were bananas, and literally. And I and they thought that I had the ability to just rabbit on. And pretty soon I found myself hosting a network show in New Zealand at the age of 19.
Oh.
And then ever since then I've been hosting.
So you just you have that hostability.
I have the
hostability.
The hostability. That's right there.
So now Phil Keoghan is who we're
Keoghan, actually.
Keoghan, sorry.
Now I only say that because you must have noticed my incredibly large frame and thought, my gosh, that guy looks like Hulk Hogan.
See, now you'll never forget.
You'll never forget.
Yeah, Phil Keoghan,
yes,
the host of The Amazing Race, and Phil has done this an incredible project. You've done a documentary film called Le Ride.
Yeah.
Tell people what that story is.
Well, I've always, is that my phone?
That's you.
Yes.
I apologize.
It's all right.
Oh, it's my wife. I'll have to tell her I'll call it back.
Go ahead.
No, tell her. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's fine.
Go ahead.
Hey, Lou. Yeah, you're on the radio. Sorry, Doug. I have to call you back. I'm on the radio right now.
Hello.
All right. Bye. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So that's the producer of the film, my wife.
Oh, the producer's checking.
And the producer of my life. No, I found this great book about the first English-speaking team to ride in the Tour de France in 1928. I love history. I love underdog stories. I love cycling. I love anything to do with New Zealand. I read the book from cover to cover. I realized that these 4 riders had been forgotten over the past 80-something, almost 90 years.
They were Aussies and New Zealanders?
One New Zealander, 3 Australians. They were part of an Anzac team. In 1928, they got on a ship. They went 5 weeks at sea all the way to France. They lined up against the best riders in the world as a team of 4. They were meant to get 6 French riders to make up a team of 10, like the other big teams. When they got there, the French riders didn't turn up, so they were 4 against the big teams of 10. They were written off. The French media said they'll never make it past the first 4 or 5 stages, and certainly they'll never make it through the mountains.
If you're not familiar with the Tour de France, it is a grueling, 20-something day event now.
It's around 20-something days. Back then, it was 22 stages. And the race organizer, Henri de Grange, he designed the original races so that his idea was only one rider would make it all the way around France and back to Paris. That's how
People
he
were
wanted
supposed to fall off.
Yes, it was a race of attrition.
Yeah.
And so in 1928, it had the highest attrition rate of any of the races in Tour de France history. 168 riders started, 41 finished. And miraculously, some of them were these Australasians, which is truly remarkable. And I wanted to tell the story, and rather than just tell it in a traditional documentary style where I would get all the archival material and I would tell the story from the outside, I thought, well, what would happen if I got a 1928 Tour de France bicycle and I retraced every mile, went through every town, rode on all the same roads, rode exactly the same old heavy steel bike with no gears and marginal brakes. If I brought it back to life and then juxtaposed that with the archival material I had from 1928 and told those 2 parallel stories while we were riding the same stages on the same roads, and I juxtaposed those 2 things together.
So Phil Keoghan is a television presenter and also crazy.
Yeah, and it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever done because we're shooting a movie where I was, directing this movie while riding a heavy steel bike 150 miles a day.
But that's not
around France.
That's not just telling that story, though, because you're revisiting all these towns and places and talking about, I'm sure, how they've changed since the 20s.
Is a lot of it still the same, though? I mean, the roads and all of that?
Well, a lot is, but, you bring up an interesting point, which is this, in 1928, was only 10 years after the end of World War I. Now, New Zealand and Australia sent hundreds of thousands of men to World War I. So I personally lost about 4 great uncles on my mom and dad's side. The New Zealand soldiers liberated a little town called Le Quinois at the end of 1918, towards the end of the war. And so the French people were incredibly they were thankful and appreciative of the Anzacs, what they called the Anzacs. So this is only 10 years later. So when the French people found out that this little underdog team was up against the odds, they turned out on the streets with New Zealand and Australian flags to encourage them.
That's great because they're very nationalistic, and especially about the Tour de France, and they want the Frenchmen to win. But
the French riders were so enamored by the guts and determination of the New Zealanders that the best team that had the winner on it, Nicolas Franz, they actually helped them and helped to improve the technology of the bikes they were riding, gave them better tires for the cobblestone roads, and and gave them information about the course because they got out there, they didn't know what was going on with the course. So this film,
Le Ride, is the first documentary feature film ever shot with a Sony F55 camera, which is the equivalent of Super 35 millimeter film.
Oh, okay.
A French lens company, Angenoux, gave us lenses to use. We had about $400,000 worth of, because this was all self-funded, this film. They gave us about $400,000 worth of lenses to use, and then we have these beautiful aerials over France, and it's quite a unique film. And I just want to say, a lot of people think, oh, they hear this is a story telling this underdog story about the Tour de France. Oh, it's for cyclists. Yes, it is for cyclists, but it's also for people who just love a good piece of history, who love an underdog story, and who love, maybe they're a Francophile. They just love France and they want to see.
Or they love New Zealanders.
Or they love New Zealanders, or they just love stories. I mean, I think Americans love stories of underdogs, people with grit and determination, and that's what this story is. So, our film was selected for South by Southwest. It's won a few awards at different festivals, American Documentary Film Festival, and in Australia, it's been playing in theaters. In one theater, was meant to have a run for 3 weeks, and now it's going into its 4th month.
Held over.
And I think the reason is, one of the reasons is that people outside of cycling have realized that this is more than just a cycling story.
Now, there's only one opportunity to see it here right now, anyway.
It's, tonight.
Yes, on the big screen, in the way the way it's meant to be seen in Super 35 millimeter film.
Nice.
We're going to be at the Jordan Commons Theater tonight at 7:00. And what I'm doing with we're doing screenings around the United States, and what we're doing with the screening tonight is, I think we have a 500-seat theater, and there's still a few seats left, but it's selling quite well. Yeah. Our goal is to pack it out, and the reason is 100% of the box office is going to the Huntsman Cancer Institute.
Oh, nice.
And the reason for that is Dave and Connor, who won Amazing Race 24, they are from Salt Lake. They're going to be there tonight.
Oh, cool.
And I asked them, where should we put all the funding?
Oh, nice.
And so that's where
they said Huntsman.
They said the Huntsman.
So if people want to get tickets for tonight,
how do they do that? Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys maybe can provide a link. I can give you one.
Yeah, we'll do. It'll be.
Yeah, we can
put it on our social media.
It's Jordan Commons though, so I think that's Megaplex.
It is.
It's Megaplex. You can also just go to my website, which is Phil Keoghan.
There you go.
LaRide.com. You'll see the trailer. You'll see a link to be able to get tickets, and just love to see everybody there tonight. And we're also gonna auction off a bike there, and the funds from that are going to go to the.
Very cool.
We'll post.
Is it a heavy steel bike from 1920?
It's a heavy steel bike with lead in it.
Buy your tickets now. You might as well. It's Jordan Commons tonight, 7 p.m.
One time only,
and it's called Le Ride.
Yes.
And you'll be there.
This sounds like a great time.
Sounds great. I wish I could be there tonight.
Why can't you go?
Because
you've got a Ogden accent convention.
It's a school night.
Oh, it's a school night.
So we get up really early. So
okay.
Evening events are kind of tough. Yeah. But so hopefully people will get a chance to, if they can't make it to Jordan Commons, people like me will see it somewhere later.
Yeah, we're weighing up a couple of options, but it'll be available online at some place. Our last film ended up going on Showtime.
What was your last film?
It was called The Ride. Yeah, I never said I was creative with
Not
the title.
Very creative.
Yeah, no.
Next one will be A Ride.
A ride.
Riding.
A sore ride. The Ogden Ride. Have you heard of that?
That'd be great.
Yeah, the Ogden. Go round and round Ogden.
We're out of time, but we are sorry to let you know.
Oh, you
Phil,
mean I just talked out all the time?
It was perfect.
How unusual.
I just wanted to say you have been eliminated.
Oh, really?
No.
After all of that?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was a non-elimination leg.
It's a great project. A pleasure to meet you.
And let's not forget Amazing Race.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Amazing Race is on Thursdays now.
March 30th is
it just premiered.
Season premiere. Yes.
Yeah, and it's a good one with all strangers.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's right. I read that. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Okay, Phil.
Well, thank you very much.
Keoghan.
Need me to do anything else while I'm here?
I'm going to make Richie make you do something.
Could you put some Coke? We got a bunch of Coke that needs to be put in the fridge.
Yeah, no problem. I'm really good with that stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank
whatever
you.
you need.